Hey guys, today I wanted to talk a little bit about everything you should know about moving to the Big Island specifically, because that's the only island I've lived on, and every island is very, very different. They each have their own culture and different landscapes, and yeah, so I just want to talk about living on the Big Island, specifically the island of Hawaii. Alright, number one is that you really are in the middle of nowhere. Like, it feels like you're in a different country. You're in a different time zone is another thing. Like, you're so far away from everyone that you know that sometimes it can be pretty hard to keep in contact with people. For example, my family lives in the Midwest, so they're about 5 hours ahead of me. So when I get off work at 4 and I want to call my parents, sometimes they'll be in bed because it's 9 o'clock at their time. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. But it really is in the middle of nowhere. Like, I'll insert a picture of a map. Super far away. It's a 6-hour flight from LA, if that gives you any general sense of where it is. Hawaii is the most isolated landmass in the world that is populated. So everything that you eat that doesn't grow on the island, everything that you wear, and like everything that you buy from like Target and stuff is all shipped in on cargo ships or on planes. Your mail is shipped in, so everything's a little bit more expensive. But the upside to that is that you can grow your own food because it's warm year-round and the sun shines 365 days a year. There's been times I've found fruit just on the side of like a road or something. Like, you can go scavenge for food if you're really trying to bum it out here. The cost of living on the Big Island is definitely more than on the mainland, depending on where you're from. Besides, it's cheaper than LA and San Fran and New York. From what I've heard people say, rent can be anywhere from $600 to free if you're doing work trade. It just really depends on like what the situation you're looking for is. My room that I rent in my house is $600, but it was like pre-furnished and it has everything I need in the kitchen and it has fruit trees, and yeah, it was already like pretty much everything I needed in Hawaii. So there's definitely good situations if you look around. And if you're looking to get a job in Hawaii, the minimum wage here is 10, so it's a little bit more than most places back in the United States. So that kind of helps. There's also a lot of work trade and woofing opportunities on this island specifically. There's a lot of farms up in North Kohala and down in Lakme. This always happens. I feel like anyone could make it work out here on the Big Island specifically. Oahu is ridiculously expensive just because it's a city, but upside to the Big Island is that it's not overpopulated. I think the Big Island's population, I'm not quite sure, but I think it's about 300,000, which is about the size of the city I'm from in Iowa, which is not a big city. So I really like the vibe on Big Island specifically, where you're not bumping into people constantly. There's not a ton of traffic. A lot of the main highways are very easy to drive on. They're just two-way highways, so it makes it very easy to hitchhike. Another thing about living out here is it's very easy to not have a car unless you are a surfer and you really want to go to like beach spots all the time, which, you know, everyone does, but there's people out here that have cars that you can make friends with, and then you can just get rides from them, or you can bike places because it's always warm here, and you can hitchhike very easily if that's something you want to do. And yeah, hitchhiking is very common here because people are more friendly here. That's another thing. People are just very, very friendly here. People like to make eye contact with you, which is something a lot of people don't do on the mainland. People smile at you, like everyone waves at each other. It's just a very different feeling than like the mainland, and yeah, that's something that really helps your mood, I would say. There's a lot of different climates on the Big Island. It's one of my favorite things about this place. There was a day where I went to the top of the mountain and it was snowing, and then I drove to the bottom of the mountain and it was 80 degrees and I went to the beach. You can go from Kohala, which is like more, what's it called, temperate, and then you can drive 15 minutes and you'll be basically in the desert, and then you go to Kona, which is white sand beaches and very hot, and you drive up the mountain a little bit and it's freezing up there and you're above the clouds, and you can go to Hilo where it's raining all the time, which is where I live. And yeah, it's just like, if whatever climate you're in the mood for, you can drive like an hour, 2 hours, and you'll be in that climate. I feel like that's a really cool thing to experience on a little island. And that's another cool thing about the island, the Big Island specifically, is you can feel like you're driving across the country and going to different places and different views like all the time. So I feel like Big Island specifically, it's easier to live here than on other islands. You won't get island fever as bad because you don't feel as trapped. Big Island is the biggest island. Someone told me that you could take all the other islands and put them together, and it's about the size of Big Island. If you are moving here, there's just something I really want people to be aware of, and that is rat lungworm, and you should really be careful with the produce that you're eating out here and make sure you wash it, and make sure you're aware of where you're getting your produce, because there's a deadly disease out here called rat lungworm. It's passed through rat feces, and then slugs go over it and go on vegetables and stuff, and it goes into the on the skin of the vegetables. So you just want to be making sure that you're really washing your vegetables and yeah, not contracting rat lungworm. There's an active volcano here. There's a very real chance of tsunamis happening in Hilo. There's sharks here. There's what else? There's chances of hurricanes. There's chances of earthquakes. There's a lot of different natural disasters that could happen on the Big Island. There has been times where lava has wiped out towns before. There has been times where a tsunami has wiped out the entire town of Hilo, but all of the times those have happened, there have been warnings beforehand, and so yeah, if any of that stuff happens, then there will definitely be sirens, and they definitely keep track of that stuff, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. But yeah, if you're someone that's scared of that type of stuff, I would not recommend moving here. I just wanted to touch on the fact that a lot of the times when you make friends out here, you could become really close friends with them, and because Hawaii is such a destination, like vacation spot, people come out here for like 2 or 3 months at a time, and then they go back to the mainland. So you might become friends with 20 people, like say I did. I became friends with 20 people, and then all of them moved back to the mainland. So I made a whole friend group out here, and literally not a single one of them lives here. So that's one thing that happens here, is turnover of friends. Yeah, it just happens because this is a vacation spot. So I would say that Big Island definitely has its tourists, especially in Kona, and different spots here and there that are places that people want to visit. But I would say Big Island in general is not very overcrowded with tourists, unless there's like a cruise ship that's porting for the day or something like that, but in general it's not too bad. Another thing to consider when moving out here is that it's super hard to bring your dog out here, because this is a rabies-free state. So every time someone wants to move their dog out here with them, they have to go through very long quarantine processes or just checkup processes, and it usually takes about, I think, 3 months. I'm not positive, but it is possible to bring your dog out here. It just probably won't be able to come out at the time that you want, and it might have to go through some really unfair quarantine processes to get here. A lot of times things out here really like to mold and rust. It's very hard to upkeep cars here. It's very hard to have clothes like laying around because they'll get moldy. And yeah, there's also bugs, really big bugs here. There's cockroaches, and then there's centipedes, which can sometimes be like that big, and they do bite. So just make sure to tap your shoes and check the insides before you put your shoe in, because they are poisonous, but they won't kill you. But I just wanted to say that living in Hawaii does not make you a Hawaiian. Before I moved to Hawaii, I did not know that it was its own monarchy and country before we basically took it over. And yeah, there's just a whole history behind Hawaii. There's a whole race that is from here, and sometimes people are not so nice or into the fact that you know, Americans kind of took over their country, but you just got to be respectful and just be very nice to everybody, and eventually you'll earn your place. But not everyone is like that here. There's many, I've barely ever met any Hawaiians that feel the need to be angry with people. Most of them are very peaceful people and very happy people. So just be super nice, and you'll earn your spot here. I just want to give some of my personal favorite things about living in Hawaii. Mine would be just the vitamin D and being outside in the sun every day. I would say in general the people out here are much more in tune with the environment and actually care about the environment and about just in general what's going on in the world. People are just a little bit more in tune with the things that are happening. I think that's about it. I want to make another video about everything you should know about gap years and everything you should know about moving to Hawaii for the purpose of becoming a student and gaining residency. So keep an eye out for that. That'll probably be next week. Yeah, but thank you for listening. I hope I covered everything or touched base on everything. If I didn't, please let me know. Please subscribe, and I'll be making more videos every single week.
Girl, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it till that I fall. Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it till that I fall. Don't do it, don't.